Good afternoon. We will continue with our reading from the book Simple Messages on Romans by Harold S. Martin. We are doing this in connection with our series study of the book of Romans. We are now in chapter 3, and the title of this chapter is The Whole World Condemned. We have started reading this last time from pages 33 to 36. We will continue with page 36, point 2, the speech of mankind. Text is from Romans chapter 3, verses 13 to 14. Our character displays itself eventually in the things that we say. Verse 13 says, "Their throat is an open sepulchre. The human mouth is filled with decay and moral stench." An open sepulchre is a shallow grave that contains a human body over which no dirt has been thrown. The hot sun beats down on that dead body, and the stench of rotting flesh becomes almost unbearable. God says that man's throat is like the open grave, and when one hears men talk, he can understand why God made this comparison. Nearly everything that is spoken is either silly and frivolous, or else it's suggestive and filthy. William Barclay, in his commentary on Colossians, says, "There can never have been a time in history when so much filthy language was used as it is today." Verse 13 continues, "With their tongue they have used deceit. To deceive another means to mislead him, to make him believe something that's not true. Men constantly deceive by using flattery and smooth words. So many things are said which are not meant. So many compliments are given without really being felt." Dr. Leonard Keeler, inventor of the famous Keeler lie detector, concluded after testing more than 25,000 people that men simply are not honest. God said that same thing in His Word several thousand years ago. Verse 13 says further, "The poison of asp is under their lips." The asp is a serpent whose poison is contained in a small sac at the base of the tongue. And God says that you and I were born with poison sacs just like the other. It's just as natural for the human tongue to burn and hurt others as it is for the poisonous snake to bite. The poet says the tongue is like an arrow sharp and like a razor keen. It utters many kindly words, and many are mean. The 10th indictment against mankind is given in verse 14. The scripture says their mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Cursing speaks of blasphemous language. All we have to do to realize the accuracy of this description is to listen to a group of people standing at a bus terminal or sitting in a restaurant. The vile language that is commonly used in America today is a disgrace to our God and to our nation. Remember also that the use of euphemisms, gosh and golly, and similar terms are just as blasphemous as raw cursing. Not only is the mouth full of blasphemy, it is also full of bitterness, a word that speaks of long-standing resentment. Our tendency is to brood over past injuries and nurse them in our minds, but the more we think about them, the deeper rooted they become. Man's speech, apart from the grace of God, is sinful and selfish and destructive. Point 3. The conduct of mankind. Romans chapter 3 verses 15 to 18. Not only is man's speech depraved, but his entire conduct is wretched and wicked. Verse 15 says, "Their feet are swift to shed blood. The first child born into this world murdered his own brother. anger and hate and murder are natural to the human heart. There are many persons who have not actually shed blood, but there is so much hatred among men today that if they didn't fear the loss of the land and the punishment that follows, there would be so many murders that undertakers could hardly handle all the funerals. The human heart tends to hold life as a cheap commodity. Television programs specialize in violence. People jump into an automobile and speed across the highways as if human life were not a sacred thing. And then there are always some who would blow your brains out for the price of a bottle of beer. The crimes committed by nations in times of warfare are cruel, almost beyond words. The pictures show acres of human corpses, mutilated bodies, women weeping over their dead, mass burial services, children with their heads bashed in, and cities lying in ruins. And if you take comfort in the fact that you may never directly have participated in anything like that, remember that Jesus traced murder even to the angry thought. Verse 16 says that destruction and misery are in their way. Those who say that the human race is improving and progressing as the years go by are blind to the facts of history. Wherever mankind has gone, there's been a path of misery and destruction. There is not a square yard on the earth's surface where man has put his foot which has not been the scene of some shocking evil. Archaeologists who dig up the ruins of past civilizations find something so revolting that they can't even be described to mixed audiences. And if God permits men to set up civilization on the moon, it will be like the poet says, if man should ever reach the moon, there's one thing that's clear. He'll ruin everything up there just as he has done down here. Destruction and misery are in their ways. Verse 17 says, the way of peace have they not known. Peace is a stranger to mankind. There are all kinds of treaties and pacts and committees and leagues of nations and diplomats, but man still cannot find the way of peace because his heart is selfish and corrupt. If 2 or 3 or 4 persons can get along without scrapping in their homes, how can we ever, under present conditions, have peace in the world? Many a home is a regular battlefield. How can there ever be peace among the nations comprising nearly 4 billion people? There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked. Isaiah 57, verse 21. Verse 18 says, there is no fear of God before their eyes. The crowning climax of man's wickedness is the fact that he simply does not fear God. He ridicules the existence of God. He mocks at the thought of judgment. He has no dread of God's wrath. To a great many people, hell is a byword. Heaven is a joke about St. Peter with a bunch of keys. And the judgment day is a superstition carried over from the Dark Ages. Some of the lack of reverential fear of God is the fault of preachers. Many preachers today don't tell their people that God is a consuming fire and that He is angry with the wicked every day. Instead, they preach the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man in such a way that all are considered basically good and no one is basically bad. But the first 3 chapters of Romans have been given to tell us the exact opposite. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Every son of Adam is under condemnation. All the world is guilty before God. There is none righteous, none that understands, none that seeks after God, none that does good. The tongue, the mouth, the feet, the lips, the entire man is corrupt and perverted and inclined to do evil. The first section of Romans is concluded with the words, "For there is no difference, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God." Romans chapter 3 verse 23. This doesn't mean that man is in a state where he does nothing good at all. Occasionally, we find traces of the divine image, but the image is always marred. Most people have some nice qualities, but underneath the surface, each one has the potential to do evil. In one moment, a man can do a noble deed. In the next moment, he becomes a beast. Every human being is a sinful, fallen creature who stands in need of a complete transformation. This isn't the popular view of human nature, but it is the biblical view. We don't have to wait until we die to find out where we are going to stand in the judgment. We can know right now. The Apostle John declares that we are condemned already in John chapter 3 verse 18. This means that unless we find some way of escape, we are going to be doomed. But there is hope for us. There is mercy for us. There is salvation for us. The same book of Romans that says in our lesson today, "There is no difference, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God," says later on in chapter 10, "There is no difference, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him." Romans chapter 10, verse 12. We will continue with part 2 of this book, God's Method of Salvation, next week. Good day. God bless everyone.